Mississippi today at the Sheraton in Flowood for the Empower Solutions Summit, the 4th annual such summit. We're pleased to welcome now Kyle Mann, Editor-in-Chief of the Babylon Bee. Kyle, good to see you.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Welcome to Mississippi.
Yeah, it's great to be in Mississippi.
First time here?
I had driven across the border, just 50 feet to say that I'd been here before. So I finally got into the heart of Mississippi.
Well, we're glad you're here for sure. So what specifically brings you to the Empower Solutions Summit?
I'm coming here to talk about the importance to defend, our right to free speech, all of our constitutional rights. As a comedian, I'm on the forefront of that fight. Not something that we really wanted to do, but we ended up on the front lines because we're constantly getting attacked for telling jokes. So it's great to be able to go across the country and talk to people about these important issues.
Well, plus you have fun with it at the same time,
Yes.
right?
That's the goal, trying to bring a little sanity in an insane world.
Well, it's awesome. Did you ever think it would evolve into the spectacle that it is?
No, not at all. I mean, we never in a million years thought it would be to this level where we're interacting with Elon Musk and we're going around the country. I'm talking about this kind of stuff. We just wanted to tell jokes.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of society we live in, where if you tell jokes, all of a sudden you're public enemy number one to a lot of people in government. So it's been a real battle and a really interesting fight that we've gotten ourselves involved in.
So when and of course our political world and our elected leaders in particular, there's no shortage of material to satire, I guess. So when you do that, just curious, do you ever get any calls from folks that just feel like you just went too far, that really wasn't funny, stuff like that?
We definitely get a lot of attacks along those lines, and we've had people reach out that we made fun of, and legal teams reach out and stuff like that. You definitely get that kind of pushback, but for the most part, I mean, people realize that it's a joke, and a lot of people take it in good fun, even people we disagree with a lot. So that's been really cool to see as well.
I know it's totally different, but I remember enjoying the early days of Saturday Night Live when they really made fun of, mocked, and just made light of in a comedic way from all stripes, all political stripes, both sides of the aisle. And it was just funny and entertaining, and it seems like through the years they've evolved to where they really don't do that except for one side of the aisle. It's maybe shifting back a little bit. You guys are pretty much like that as well. You don't play favoritism in your comedy.
Yeah, I mean, every comedian has his opinions or his sides, and we make fun of the left a lot because, frankly, comedians weren't making fun of the left when we launched, and it was just a target-rich environment. But at the same time, you're right. I mean, comedy used to be gather around the TV, watch Johnny Carson or Jay Leno, and make fun of both sides.
Yeah, and
it's not that anymore. Leftist comedians suddenly see themselves as these moral arbiters of what's right and wrong, and they're the lecturers, the conscience of the nation. That's not a funny play. That's not a funny thing at all. So we see our role as to not only make fun of the other side, but make fun of ourselves.
Yeah.
And unite people. Left and right, come together and laugh again as a nation. I think that's a very healing thing for a country.
So you also have a non-satirical site as well, not to be. I'm not sure if it's a site. I get the newsletter every day.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoy it. And I have to admit, there sometimes are nuggets of news that I get, and that's after also having been a subscriber to a number of other publications. Sometimes you guys will pick up on stuff that nobody else has, and I'll use it here on the show. It's awesome.
I mean, what we realized early on as we were writing comedy and jokes is it was hard to find the right stories to joke about, because what articles you choose to cover, what news you choose to cover, is just as much about censorship as what you actually say in the article. That's just as much bias as how you write a specific article. So something that the New York Times refuses to cover, a lot of people just don't hear about.
Okay.
So we thought it was important to help control that flow and get stories out there. And so Not the Bee is our sister site that it publishes stories that I can't believe it's not Babylon Bee. It's really hard to tell the real headlines from the big ones.
Would you say then, Kyle, it's sort of intentional that maybe you look for some stories that the mainstream just won't cover, won't publish, and you find those, pick those out, and then publish them?
That's absolutely the case.
Okay. Okay, well, that's why I get stuff from it then.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's a great alternative source of news that you hear stories that you might not otherwise have heard of.
Yeah, Not the Bee. All right, so we just had an election. We got a whole new administration coming in, and a bunch of new House members, some senators as well. You feel like you'll have a continuing target-rich environment as a result?
Washington, D.C. is always a target-rich environment. Yeah, no matter which party is in power. But, obviously Kamala Harris would have been great for comedy for us for the next 4 years. But Trump is also just a fantastic person to write comedy about. He's hilarious in himself. There's so many fun situations and so many wild comments that he makes that you can play with for such a long time. So we're so excited to be able to make fun of Trump again. We never thought we'd get another 4 years of Trump.
Yeah.
It was such a fun time writing jokes about him the first time. We're really blessed to have another 4 years.
Well, there have been lots of rumors, of course, about MSNBC perhaps being a takeover target by Elon Musk or laying a bunch of people off, maybe even folding. But, they kind of made their living when Trump was in office. Every day it was just the constant report of, look what Trump said on Twitter today, and they would just go into a tizzy about that. So maybe there'll be a resurgence of MSNBC with Trump going into office.
Even though they looked sad on election night, you got to think MSNBC and CNN and all those are they're actually quite happy.
Yeah, I think so too.
That Trump is in office. They have a relationship like Batman and the Joker, like they need each other to survive.
I love that. That's right. Batman and the Joker. What a great analogy that is. Well, how did you get into this business, Kyle? Is this something you just were sitting around one day and said, I think I'm going to go into political comedy?
Yeah, never something I planned on. I had a normal desk job, normal office job, and decided I was going to start writing these satirical headlines.
Yeah.
And we never thought it would be anything beyond a side project, something that we would do at night or whatever.
Yeah.
And it immediately became full-time work because the world was so insane. I think people on the right really were looking for some sort of comedy outlet, that could comment on these things, and so there was a great need in the market for it. Ended up being a huge thing. Ended up being our full-time jobs.
How do you just keep it going? Do you ever run into writer's block, I guess, so to speak, and say, what in the world are we going to make fun of today?
Yeah. We've been around for 8 years, and I remember about a month or two in, I was like, well, we're all out of ideas. It's over. But that's, just like any job, you got to push through and start really getting the wheels turning, and you can always overcome that with a little creativity. And I have a fantastic team of writers all across the country that are sending ideas, and it's been a lot of fun.
So connect what you do. You talked at the earlier in the segment about advocating for free speech. Connect what you do to what Empower Mississippi's mission is.
Yeah, I think any of, like what Empower is doing, especially with things like school choice, which is school choices is one of those things that we think is a constitutional issue, that people should have the right to decide what their children, how their children are educated, how they want to raise their children, and you just have that collectivist mindset that is opposed to that kind of thing, that says no, the state knows best. And it's very similar to what we do. It's like how the state wants to be able to say what kind of comedy you should be able to listen to, what kind of things should come across your Facebook feed. And the flow of information is another area where Facebook and Twitter were censoring things on behalf of the government, and they explicitly admitted to this now. That you should believe this certain set of things, and anything else is a conspiracy theory and should be banned and censored. Well, that's the same people that want to control your kids' education. That you have to believe this and this and this, and be taught these things in school. So we think it's important that people be able to make those choices, what kind of information sources that they listen to, and be able to speak their mind out in the public square without fear of the government coming down and cracking down on them.
Got it. Why do you think that this school choice issue is kind of almost evolved into a Democrat versus a Republican?
Well, like I said before, it's a difference in philosophies of collectivism versus individualism, where progressivism has really started to. Well, they used to be classical liberals that believed in individual liberty. Now they've really started to push into this collectivist, almost Marxist mindset of the state knows best and the state raises your children, it takes a village. That kind of rhetoric. But in order to perpetuate progressivism, you have to get to the kids first. You have to instill your doctrines in those kids. Oh, the left isn't having kids, so they want to come and take our kids.
Yeah,
it's kind of the philosophy that they're under.
COVID exposed a lot of that. What's going on in the classroom, didn't it? I think it woke a lot of parents up.
Yeah, COVID. I mean, COVID was one of those things where all of a sudden the crazy things they were teaching in school was in your living room. You know, you had stories of teachers that were asking parents to leave the room while they're teaching your kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And that woke a lot of parents up to go, no, wait, what? I'm
Yeah.
not leaving the room while you teach my kids.
I think it kind of shifted a lot of traditional Democrat parents to think more about voting Republican.
Yeah,
as a result.
and to homeschool their kids, you know, which is cool.
Totally agree. Kyle Mann, editor-in-chief, the Babylon Bee, has been our guest on Middays in Flowood, Mississippi. Really enjoyed talking to you there, Kyle. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yep. Folks, we're stepping aside for a break right now. We've got another segment, and then it's Speaker of the House Jason